Hey, it's Hope. Welcome to Hopefully Here. I am super stoked that you clicked on this video, and we are continuing on with my read a book from every booktuber that I follow video series. And we are moving on to book 3. I just pulled The Late Americans, and this one is from a favorite or recommendation from Ink&Paper Blog. Let me grab it. There we go. The Late Americans by Brandon Taylor, and he wrote, what's the book I've read one from him before? Real Life, and I really enjoyed it. A bit of a tug at your heartstrings type book Real Life was, so imagine this will be too. I have no idea what it's about, but I will bring you along for the ride as we read this one. I'm quite excited about it. I think, again, I think it's gonna be a pretty quick read. There's a lot of dialogue. I think I should be able to get through this one pretty quickly, which is great because, like I said, I've got a gazillion books to get through. I'm excited about this. So Ink&Paper Blog is a man who lives in California, Northern California maybe, and he does a lot of, I think, what is his focus? I don't know, he does a lot of queer books. I think that's probably going to be part of this as well. But he does a whole range of book reviews. He talks about a lot of different things, a lot of different book prizes. I really enjoy his content. He doesn't upload as frequently as some other people do, but he's got a secondary job doing something somewhere, and I enjoy his content. He's very calm, and he just has a nice way about him that he's very easy to listen to when he does his book recommendations. So I am excited to get going on this one. Let's see how this one plays out. Pages in, and so far we are following Seamus, who is in some sort of poetry class, and there's been a bit of a discussion about the role of art and artists, and I always enjoy that discussion. Actually, I find the conversation around art can go some pretty interesting places. So that's fun. He also works in a hospice, a kitchen in a hospice. So I feel like there's potential that this book there's going to be a lot of depth and a lot of kind of meaning that isn't explicitly written. And I'm not always good at ferreting out that information and connecting pieces and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. But it seems to be it's going to be about a group of people, and it sounds like they go away together or something. I'm not totally sure how it's going to play out. I did read the synopsis, but just briefly. I wanted to just start reading. So that is that so far. Like I said, 22 pages in. It's going to read pretty quickly, and I have high hopes for this book because I have enjoyed work from him before, and he seems to have a particular tone in his writing that I enjoyed. But I do think even in his previous book, it took a little while for me to warm up to it, and that's happening here too. It's only 22 pages, but it hasn't grabbed me the second I started reading. That's okay. It's definitely got time. But for now, I've got some stuff I'm going to do, and I will catch up with you when I have more to say about this book. It has been a couple of days, but I finished The Late Americans by Brandon Taylor, and I quite enjoyed it. This book follows quite the cast of characters. I think you're following kind of 4 people, but there are a lot of people in this book, and that was one of its downfalls, I think, was trying to keep track of all the different characters because there are so many of them. And because they all kind of mix in different ways, like you'll recognize a name from earlier in the book and you kind of have to go back and remember, okay, they're connected to this other character through this relationship, but now they're in whatever the type of relationship is with the character that's on page. So there was a lot of having to remember all these different names, which is fine, but is just something to know going into it. And there's also a thing in this synopsis where it talks about, at the end it says, this group heads to a cabin to bid goodbye to their former lives. It's part of the synopsis, but it is such a small part of the book. I kept on expecting for this trip to some cabin to happen, and then you get to very close to the end and it still hasn't happened anyways. So I just kind of feel like that was a little misleading in why it would be included in the synopsis, but that's just my opinion. As for the book itself, Brandon Taylor has a way of writing characters that evoke so much emotion. Whether you think they're terrible people, they're all flawed. They all have such problems with the way they see the world or the way they see themselves in the world. And it is amazing the type of emotion that as an author he is able to get out of the reader for these characters. Because normally with flawed characters, I love a morally gray character and a flawed character, but you kind of judge them a little bit, or I do. And in this case, you just want to wrap them in bubble wrap and put them on a shelf and say, I'm putting you here because you need to be protected. You're not protecting yourself, so I will protect you for you. And it's a really interesting relationship between these characters in the book and me as a reader and how I felt about them. I think that he does characters just absolutely brilliantly, and his characters in real life, which is the book that I had read by him previously, I felt the same way. This is basically I would say kind of coming of age, except that they're all a little later in life. They're in their late 20s, a lot of them. That is not later in life, folks. I'm just gonna let you know now, your late 20s, you are still a child. But it's just one of those things where they're still figuring out who they are in their late 20s. And I love that because so often you read a book and it's expected by your late 20s, early 30s that you have your stuff together, and that is absolutely not necessarily the case. You might not know what you want to do until you're in your 40s, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I love that about these characters. They are still just children trying to figure things out, but they're dealing with real life problems because they are adults. So it's a really interesting balance of kind of them like almost not wanting to have to make decisions, but needing to make decisions, and then making bad decisions and the repercussions with it. It was very well done, messy, complicated, but a really great book, and just a look at relationships and life as you continue to age and grow and learn. And I really enjoyed it. So Ink&Paper Blog, thumbs up from me. And that's all I have to say about that one. I, again, just want to read, like, this, so far this little reading challenge for myself has been going really well. And I'm so thrilled because none of these books to date are books that I would have picked up on my own. And yet I've enjoyed all of them. No 5 stars yet, I don't think. but definitely all enjoyable books. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you continue to tune in as we start a new book. I've actually already started and finished the book. I just haven't been able to wrap this one up yet. So we are already 2 books ahead, but you're gonna have to wait and see how those go. Bye.